somebody being a good person does not mean that they're your person. Somebody being respectful, somebody being nice, somebody doing things that you like does not mean that they're your person. Hey y'all, it's Megan May and this is Transparency, where we keep it real about our growing pains and all the beautiful moving parts of life that may not be the most glamorous but shape us into who we are today. So if you're ready for some introspection and evolution, go ahead and lock in by hitting the subscribe button. And if anything I says resonates with you, you can leave me a comment and or like so I know we see each other. So before I even get into the episode, I just know I'm going to post one episode before this one, but I have to address the elephant in the room, and that's me being gone for 3-4 weeks now. I really thought that I was going to be able to maintain my consistency, but guys, a little life update, and it's going to feed into today's topic. I was in a relationship, and I am no longer in a relationship. In fact, I got dumped. I just can't believe it. This is the first time in my life that I've ever experienced something like this. But it's crazy because when I say I've had to learn how to reflect on the things that I've been hearing while being on this journey of trying to better myself with intentionality, I really started to meditate on the words that rejection is God's protection. Rejection is God's protection. And it's so crazy how I realized that I had checked out in certain areas of the relationship before the breakup even came, but for whatever reason I wasn't really ready to let it go. And I didn't realize that I started feeling like this until I was preparing for this episode. And I remember I had created an audio recording back on April 20th. It was early in the morning. It's like God woke me up out my sleep with this message of sometimes love just is not enough. And I don't really know exactly the direction that this is going to go because I'm coming straight off the dome, but I really wanted to just talk about a vast array of things. One of those topics is going to be a culmination of things, but one topic that I'm going to touch on is rejection and just the ways to navigate that and ways to really sit with the feeling so that you could process exactly why it hurts. Because like I said, I made an audio on April 20th. The breakup didn't happen till May 9th. And I was just speaking about things related to kind of coming to the conclusion that this relationship just isn't my forever after, but it still hurt when the breakup happened. And I'm going to talk about how those feelings can coexist. You know, the sense of, okay, this is being released from my experience by God, because sometimes we try to cling on to things, and we cling on to those things because we're just hoping that things will change, or we're just hoping that something will shine through that's going to outweigh the negatives of the relationship. And I'm not even just speaking about romantic relationships. This could be friendships as well. This could be staying in a job longer than you need to. This could be any relationship at all. But I feel like sometimes we kind of don't even, I think it really boils down to confidence. We don't even have the confidence in not even ourselves, but the potential that better is out there, and we'll be able to experience that better in the timeline that we've created for ourselves. So for me, speaking from my experience with this particular breakup, I felt like, okay, this person, had we not dated, would have been a really good person to probably be friends with, or just have some form of platonic relationship. Maybe not even to the extent of an actual friendship, but somebody that I could just have been cool with, because we shared certain things in common, and together we had a nice vibe and things of that nature. And I feel like sometimes we allow that to create this illusion that this is our person. But somebody being a good person does not mean that they're your person. Somebody being respectful, somebody being nice, somebody doing things that you like does not mean that they're your person. Your person is going to carry all those same attributes, but at the end of the day, when you really sit and think about what is it that your soul craves, what is it that you're going to need long term in a relationship to feel desired, to feel respected, appreciated, and loved the way that you need to be loved. And that's what I'm going to touch on too. We need to understand that people can only love to the extent in which they know how to be loved. A lot of people love you in the ways that they would like to receive love, but then a lot of people also only love you to the extent that they were taught to showcase love. So, that being said, I'm going to just go ahead and jump straight into this because this can roll off the tongue with ease, and then we'll go back to rejection and how to deal with it. But that being said, I just want you to sit and think about, the different heartbreaks that you might have went through, whether it be getting fired from a job, whether it be a friendship no longer being able to stand the course of time and you guys going your separate ways, or maybe it is a girlfriend or boyfriend situation that no longer exists. Think about the many things that you might have argued about, or the many things that you might have had disagreements about that maybe weren't arguments, but like you still felt some type of way, and perhaps you compromised and settled, if we're being honest, on things that you felt very strongly about, but the person that you were with, or the person that you had this correspondence with, relationship of whatever extent with, they were not seeing things the way that you were seeing things, and it felt like you were speaking to a brick wall, because what resonates with you, it makes sense, but it just doesn't resonate with them, because you are the first experience that is entering their reality where this is like a thing. So for me, something that we were arguing about was like the different elements of attention or affection that I feel like are important in a relationship, that I felt like were important given our certain circumstances. And it felt like every time I would address something, the bar would move. Like, oh, this isn't that serious because I show up in this kind of way. And then it really got to the point where, oh, now the way that you claimed you best show up, you're still missing the mark. And I have an attitude about it, I address it, and now it's just so stressful, and I just continue to make a big deal out of small things, and just all of this really, to me, gaslighting, because it's just like, bro, I'm literally meeting you where you set the bar. You said that this is how you best show up, and now we're in this situation, we're in this environment, and you still are missing the mark. So it's not even about, oh, I'm making a big spew out of things, but you are not able to accommodate me in the ways that I need accommodations in relationships, because you don't see the value in these things. You honestly don't. And it's really not necessarily like a character flaw. It just means that we're not necessarily compatible. Like, we have great laughs, we have great times, but in my most vulnerable moments, when I need you to show up in a certain type of way, you are incapable of doing so, because you don't see the value of showing up in that way. Like, oh yes, somebody can say, oh yes, I'll do X, Y, and Z if you ask them to do X, Y, and Z. But like, are they really doing it to the capacity in which it will resonate with you? Or are they just doing it to check off a box and say, oh, I did it? And how do you feel when they do it? Do it feel like they genuinely wanted to be there? Did it feel like they genuinely wanted to accommodate you in these ways? Did it feel like they genuinely wanted to show up in this way so that not only do you feel good, but they can know that they're creating a safe space for you? They are being that shoulder for you to cry on. It's crazy, because I feel like a lot of the times too, people will extend themselves and say like, oh, whenever you need me, I'm here for you. And then when you need them, it's like they low-key give the vibe of you being a burden on them. But it all just goes back to people cannot extend themselves in ways that just don't resonate with them. So if somebody is the type of person to hold it all in, and they literally are doing this from a source of trauma, because when they were younger, perhaps they didn't really have a relationship with their parents or their siblings or anybody who was really close to them, cultivated for them to feel comfortable to go to and seek in times of need, in times of sorrow, in times where they feel confusion or frustration or stress or whatever. They don't have like that person that really was there for them, that shoulder to cry on, that person to lean on. They can only do but so much, and a lot of what you bring to them, even if it's not heavy, will feel heavy to them because they don't know how to carry that weight. They've never seen an example of how to carry that weight, and therefore they're going to fall flat every single time. It's not that they don't necessarily want to, perhaps, and it could be that, but sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just they don't know how to. And so instead of vocalizing, because now they feel like a certain immense pressure or just extra frustration or extra overwhelmed because they know that they're not able to meet your expectations of what you need in these moments, they might start, projecting onto you and making it seem like, oh, you're too much, you're doing too much, I don't understand why this is a big deal to you. Saying these things that are, for one, very insensitive, but also trying to make you feel bad because they don't know how to honor the way that they've extended themselves to you. So, said all that to say that sometimes you have to realize that people just are not your people. The job just might not be for you. That friendship just might not be aligned to who you are in your core. And that relationship is never going to serve you in the ways that you need to be served. Now, it is sometimes confusing because sometimes, like, you might hit it off with a person, y'all are really good friends off the rip, you guys may have very great chemistry out the gate, and you feel like, oh, this is my person because you feel that strong sense of compatibility. But as things happen, as life goes on and you guys start to navigate different things together, or you start to feel like, oh, let me confide in this person about what's going on in my life, and you realize that it's not being well received, or perhaps not received at all. Like, I know it's a situation that I've been in where, like, I would go to a person because they would often come to me with the things that they were dealing with, and I would go to them, and it's like immediately after I voice my frustrations, they'll just change the topic. And I realized far too late, but I realized it was because they didn't really know. Like, sometimes you have to think about it. If this person is coming to you with similar frustrations, for lack of better words, but similar conflicts, similar frustrations, and they're asking for advice, then seeking that same person in times where you might need advice about something similar just might not be the best route to take, because what exactly can they offer you? You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's just nothing there. And that's not to say that you should cut that person out of your life, because perhaps they can show up for you in different ways and in other areas of life that you probably can't even show up to them in those type of ways. So reciprocation isn't always just you doing exactly what that person has done for you, or vice versa. Sometimes it's just like, okay, this is your strong suit, so I lean on you in the times where I need help in this area, but this is my strong suit, so I'm coming to you for advice and for encouragement to navigate this area of life. You get what I'm saying? So it's not saying that you have to cut that person off, but you also have to be mindful of when and how people in your life and in your circle show up for you, because you don't want to accept the bare minimum and then start feeling like when you have things going on in your life, oh, I don't know where to turn. Especially if this is a relationship, like a romantic relationship, because what good is it to stand beside somebody and think like, oh, I've been such a good person to this person, so they're going to be just as good to me, and they're going to show up in these ways because I've shown up for them in these ways. And then when the time comes, they have not even the capacity, but they don't even know where to start. They don't know how to be the person that you need in that moment, because it's just never been in them. It's just never been in them. And so at that point, you don't even have the capacity to try to teach them, to try to coach them, to try to like give them any advice on how to best be there for you. You're just sitting there looking crazy as they're looking crazy, because you're sitting here in your feelings, and they're pretty much going about things as if it's normal because they don't know how to cater to you in these instances. So that's something that this past relationship has taught me. And just going back to the idea of sometimes love just is not enough, I feel like it's important for us to go into situations knowing exactly what we're bringing to the table. I know people hate that saying, but it's not about, oh, what can you do, what, like, pretty much trying to sell yourself out the gate. It's not about that. It's knowing what qualities you possess. How are you going to be of service? How are you going to be an aid to this person? And what value are you bringing into their lives? And when you know the value that you're bringing into somebody's life, like regardless of the feelings, the intimacy that come over time, you'll be able to recognize like, hey, this is something that isn't really serving me the way that I need to be served, because I'm coming into this knowing that I provide all of these things and you can only provide this one thing, this two things, these three things. Like, it's about knowing what you're too good for, essentially. Because I feel like a lot of the times people stay in situations longer than they need to, and they try to say like, oh, it's because I love this person and I know they love me. And that could be all true, but at the end of the day, is love enough? Are you feeling fulfilled? Are you feeling supported? Are you feeling encouraged to pursue your dreams? How is this person really actually feeding you? Because where is the love actually stemming from? Is the love resonating with you because this is exactly the way that you learned how to love? Like, this is the nurture that you are used to experiencing, that you've experienced in your upbringing. Is this the love and the nurture that you experience when you're around all the other close-knit people to you? Or is this a love that you've learned how to tolerate? Let's talk about it, because sometimes I feel like people just start tolerating things because they've shared experiences or they're scared of starting over. And all of these things that, you know, crowd your mind about, you know, is it even worth leaving? Because maybe the grass isn't greener on the other side. But let me tell you, if you feel any ounce of doubt, if you feel like any sense of a lack of security in a situation, then there is better for you. That is your intuition screaming to you, letting you know that, hey, this might seem good and perhaps it's better than the last situation that you were in, but this is not the best. There's more out there for you. And this is where faith really comes into play, because I feel like, for me, speaking from my personal experience, like, I know the desires of my heart are to be married, to have a family. And I did at one point have a timeline for these things. I've abolished the timeline because I feel like God is not going to allow these things to enter my reality until I am the person that is going to be able to sustain these things and steward these things well. I'm obviously just not that person yet. But I also had to recognize, like, I got into this last relationship a month after getting out of another relationship that I was in for a reasonably long amount of time. Like, it wasn't crazy long. It was like a year and some change. But as an adult, that had been my longest relationship. And so I personally felt like, because I had checked out of the previous relationship before getting to the breaking point of saying, like, I don't want to do this anymore, I was okay to just, you know, start dating. And this person came in strong. And so, you know, things just kind of accelerated really quickly. And we ended up being exclusive rather soon. Like, it wasn't in the cards for me as far as I was concerned. Like, I wasn't thinking, oh, I'm getting in another relationship. In fact, I said the same thing that I'm saying now, but actually I'm going to stick to it now. And that is, I don't have the capacity for a relationship. I don't care to offer myself to anybody else right now. And right now I'm sticking to it because I've come to all of these realizations and revelations. But, you know, it's all a learning process, and it feels like a game. Love is kind of a game. Life in itself is kind of a game. But at the same time, it's not, because games are played to be won. And I don't feel like you're necessarily ever winning or losing. Sometimes yes. Sometimes yes. Like if you're staying in a situation that's just completely toxic, it's not doing anything for you, you're just holding on to this person because they might have treated you better than anybody of your past, or this is probably your first serious experience with a person, or you just want to have somebody to say that you have somebody, then that's not a valid enough reason to be in a relationship. But it's not necessarily a winning or losing game, because even the things that fail, the relationships that fail, like there's always a takeaway. At least one. There's always a takeaway. And for me, it was to really go into things with intention and not really, focus on one potential. And I've talked about this before, but one potential, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people do, both men and women. You get into something, you think the person, they're attractive, they might have some good things about them that you like, but you don't really feel a strong sense of chemistry, and probably not even a strong sense of compatibility. But you stay with them because, like they look good on paper, but they're not good for you. So it's that, and it's a lot of different things. I don't want to feel scatterbrained, so I'm not trying to go through the list, but we'll probably circle back to it later down the line. I just wanted to say, like, sometimes we just have to muster up the courage to say, hey, look, and this is where I'm at right now. Hey, look, I know that I love hard. For me, I would consider myself a hopeless romantic. And I know what I have to offer, but I also know what I desire, and I know what I'm going to be able to compromise on versus the things that I'm not shaking on. Like, this is exactly how you need to be coming, and you need to be consistent in these areas. And before I even get in another relationship, I do want to cultivate a strong sense of understanding with myself and a strong sense of love with myself, because while we all think we might love ourselves, I feel like these type of situations kind of show the weak spots that we possess, where it's like, okay, yeah, you might love yourself in a grand scheme of things, but like I said, I made this audio pretty much talking about how, like, sometimes love isn't enough, and I knew I wanted it to be a topic of transparency, but it stemmed from my own situation, and I stayed weeks later until the point where I ended up getting broken up with. Now, granted, the reasons behind the breakup are still under question. I personally feel like I know what it is, but it's now irrelevant. But regardless of the reasoning, it's just like, girl, you didn't allow yourself to feel heartbroken about something that was already supposed to not even be this long of a thing. Like, it could have been like a cool little experience for a couple of months or something, but to have gone to the extent of being this person's girlfriend, it probably shouldn't have even gotten that far. And sometimes, we're stuck in a daze and we're just feeling so good, and we just like the attention, or we just like the experiences we have with this person, and we start holding on to memories that we have with this person, and so like it keeps us in this space. But the more time that I feel like I take for myself, because I did this before my last relationship, and I feel like it definitely helped me to navigate things better. So I'm excited about going on this journey again. But the more time that we take to ourselves, the more that we get to learn ourselves, the more experiences we get to cultivate with ourselves and for ourselves. And just going about life not really having to consider the feelings of anybody else, just doing what you want to do, doing what you know is best for you. I feel like it's just so freeing. It's so rewarding. It feels really good. And that's just where I am right now. So I feel like, if you're in a period of life where anything just seems unsatisfactory. Now, I know with a job, it's not as easy to just get up and walk away. Like, you need to have something else lined up so that you can have income. You can take care of the things that you need to take care of. But as far as friendships and any other relationship, I feel like if you feel like, yeah, this person is a good person, but I don't necessarily feel like my needs are being met, whatever your needs might be, and never feel like you're being too needy. Your needs are justified because you know what you want, and it's not going to resonate with people that don't see the value in those same things. So if somebody is making it seem like you're asking for too much or you're doing too much, they're just not your people. They're just not your person. And that is okay. Will it hurt? Absolutely. Especially if you've already invested a certain amount of time, energy, love, money, whatever into this person. It's going to hurt. But it's going to hurt more the longer that you stay and just be complacent and settle on things that really matter to you. Especially if you're still showing up in all the ways that you feel is best resonating with the other person. Like you're still showcasing that you love this person through what their love languages are. It's going to hurt because you're not being fed as well. You're just giving and feeding into the other person. So just walk away. Like, don't stay longer than you need to. Experience people and understand that some experiences are just not meant for a lifetime. Some experiences are meant for just here and the now. And once you start feeling like anything is under question, perhaps that is the sign that, okay, this has run its course. I appreciate it for what it was, but it's time for me to move on because I know that better is out there for me. And before I wrap, I did say I was going to touch on rejection, so I do want to talk about that because it is hurtful. Even if you know that this person isn't your person, or this relationship has ran its course, or I deserve better and I know better is out there for me, for whatever reason that you were clinging to that relationship, when it comes to an end, whether it was by your call or the other person's call, it is hurtful. Like, we can sit here and try to act like, oh, I don't care, this and the third, but like, you've invested things into this. And so sometimes I feel like we even can feel hurtful about the betrayal that we've had on ourselves. Not even necessarily like, oh, this person, it took me for granted. They didn't appreciate the things that I did and the ways that I showed up in this relationship. Sometimes you feel hurt because you feel like you betrayed yourself from just staying too long or overextending yourself, overplaying your part, whatever the case may be. But whatever type of hurt that you feel, you need to learn to sit with that. You need to learn to dig deeper into that. Why was that even the case? What probably from your past kind of shaped your thinking processes into you not even recognizing that this was something that needed attention or for you to act on sooner? But yeah, like, sometimes we have to just be really honest with ourselves and really blunt and blatant about the disrespect that we're showing ourselves by staying in something. But when it comes to, okay, you didn't want this situation to end and somebody else pulled the trigger and you don't really even know how to navigate it, again, sit with the feeling. That's first and foremost. Always sit with a feeling, because the more you try to mask things or bury things deep down, they're always going to come back up, and they're going to also play a part in the ways that you navigate things moving forward once you probably do get into another friendship or relationship or job. And it's not going to be healthy. However it influences your actions and your behaviors, it's not going to be in a healthy way. You're going to have to feel like you're on guard. You're going to feel like you can't trust people. You're going to feel like people, like you have to get them before they get you. These type of things that just aren't healthy and are not sustainable for trying to move forward and grow in your life. So always sit with the feeling and recognize why you feel the way that you feel, and acknowledge that it's a valid feeling. Nobody else has to think it's valid because nobody else is holding that feeling but you. So acknowledge that it's a valid feeling. The second thing you're going to do is, okay, how can I move past this in a healthy way? Like, okay, it hurts. I know it hurts, and it might hurt for quite some time. But how can I pour something into me that I feel has been taken away from me, that I feel has been robbed from me? And don't put a timeline on things like, oh, I'm gonna go on a solo date once a week for the rest of this month. Like, do it for however long you feel you need to. If you feel like you need to commit to something, if you feel like you need to just explore different hobbies, whatever it is that you feel like you need to do to navigate this transition in a healthy way, do that. The third thing I would say is eliminate everything that's going to remind you of that person that holds sentimental value. Like, you don't have to get rid of every single thing, but like pictures definitely hold sentimental value because they're normally highlighting an experience that you guys shared together. So delete pictures. If you need to unfollow, block, mute on Instagram or whatever social media, do that. If you follow locations, go ahead and stop sharing locations. If their name is something special, like a nickname or something in your phone, then go ahead and change their name. Now, I ain't gonna say what I be changing people's names to, because I need my brain to register when this name comes across my phone, if this name comes across my phone, that this is somebody I don't need to entertain. So just saying that, I'm not gonna disclose what I be changing people's names to, but like, if you feel disgusted by the situation, their contact needs to reflect that. I won't say just go and delete it, only because I can only speak for iPhones. I don't know about Androids, but I know with iPhones, if you delete somebody's number and then they so happen to hit you up, it's going to say maybe and then the last contact name that you have for that person. So I feel like it's better to change it to something of disgust and just let it sit there and marinate for some time. And if you think like, oh, I should just go ahead and delete it, then go ahead and delete it. Of course, you can also just go straight into blocking that person if you feel like they're going to be trying to string you along. Like, okay, maybe they're the one that broke up with you or said they didn't want to be friends anymore, but you know that this person is kind of unstable and they're going to try to spin the block. Go ahead and block that person so they don't even have access to you. That is very important when it comes to handling rejection. Is allowing the person that rejected you or the thing that rejected you to no longer have access to you. You're not coming across this person in the digital realm. You're not coming across this person in the physical realm. And perhaps you might have to see this person. Perhaps you guys share a space and you have to see this person. The best way to go about rejection in that sense is release all bitterness related to the release all bitterness related to the situation. And that is going to be very difficult. I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard, but you can do it. The way that you go about releasing bitterness, again, is honestly starting with just recognizing how you feel and giving yourself the validation that you need, but also just understanding that this happened for a reason. It's not going to just come to you naturally, like, especially if this is not like your own philosophy of things and the way that life works, but things happen for a reason. And regardless of what the reason is, whether you think you know, you don't know, whatever, regardless of what the reason is, there's no point of holding bitterness in your heart or contempt in your heart for this person that broke your heart or did you dirty or did you wrong or betrayed you, because it happened for a reason. And things are going to be better, but things are going to get better with time. Don't put a timeline on it, just release it. It is what it is. It's already happened. Being bitter about it is going to only hurt you, not them. And so forgiveness and bitterness kind of work hand in hand. Like, once you forgive a person, you're no longer really wishing ill will on them. You don't feel like you need to get revenge. You don't feel like you need to one up them. You don't feel like you have to do something to like make them regret their decision. You're just accepting that things happen. It is what it is, and you know that you'll be fine in due time. You don't have to rush the process of feeling fine, but you're just acknowledging that you know it's going to take time, but you're not stunting this person. You don't care about what they have going on in their lives. You don't care to try to reconcile or rehash things. You don't feel like you need closure. You're accepting that things are what they are. And I feel like that's the best way to deal with rejection. Now, other than those things, it's just important to pour into yourself. Realize the areas where you've been wounded and realize what it is that you want out of life. What it is that you really value in relationships altogether. And start to pretty much provide those things for yourself. And realize that you don't need an outside person to show up in any kind of way to do anything for you, because you are capable of doing these things for yourself. Now, it's nice when you have another person that sees the beauty in you and wants to cater to you and wants to show up in these ways for you. And I believe that everybody has their own tribe of friends, their own person that, you know, they'll spend forever with. But we don't know when those things are going to like enter our reality and shift the atmosphere for us. So just be patient, regardless of what's going on around you. I don't care how many of your friends get in a relationship. I don't care how many of your friends get a new job. I don't care how many of your friends start making new friends. I don't care how great other people's lives seem to be going or getting. That's not your concern. Your concern in this place of really being still and just acknowledging who you are and what it is that you want out of life is to really get to know yourself on the deepest of levels and cater to yourself and your needs, your wants, your desires, in all the ways that only you can do. I'm not saying that nobody's going to be able to come and replicate these things or do these things for you. I'm not saying that. But right now, in the here and now, while you're dealing with the heartbreak and you're dealing with the rejection, you are the only person that can show up for you in the ways that you need. Your friends can't do it. Your mama can't do it. Your cousin, your sister, your brother, your daddy. Nobody else can do it, because there's only so much that people understand. You can express how you feel, but at the end of the day, people are only going to understand to a certain extent, because they probably feel like you tripping. They probably feel like, oh, it's not that serious themselves, because perhaps they've never had to navigate this same situation before. Or even if they navigated a breakup, it hasn't contained that, the breakup didn't contain the same components. So don't worry about, what everybody else's advice is. You could take what you need with a grain of salt, but just really focus on you and understand that things had to come to an end, despite how much you love this person, despite how much you've done for this person, because sometimes love just is not enough, and you need to love yourself enough to recognize that and pour into yourself in the ways that you deserve. Okay, I think that's all that I have on the subject. Honestly, I need to start getting ready for my little workout session that I have at noon, so I'm gonna leave it here. I love you guys, and again, thank you for your patience. I hate that I just be like dipping in and out like that, but I'm working on my consistency, and now, baby, that I'm focusing on me and me alone, it should be easier to go about things more consistently, because I'm the star of the show now. Like, I don't have a co-star. I am the co-star of my own show, and I can march to the beat of my own drum. So just pray for me, child. Pray for me and my consistency and all of the things. But I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I hope that this resonates with you. Of course, share this with anybody who you feel needs to hear this message, may have gone through something similar recently, or that this is just good advice and they can obviously have a good takeaway from me. So yeah, thank you guys. Toodles.